Ladies and gentlemen, the show we've all been waiting for, Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present REP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts, Kim Purvis and Allison Robinson. Live every Thursday night on Spreaker, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Be sure to check out their Facebook page, REP Paranormal Busters.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Alright, hey everybody, welcome to another night of REP Paranormal and Friends. Tonight we have a special guest. We have Christie Williams on tonight, so welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Tired. It's been a very long couple of days, so
I can hear you there. I can relate. Alright, so why don't you go off? We have some, new listeners or people that may not be familiar with you. So if you could give us a little bit of background to start off with.
Yes, so I am with Buried Alive Paranormal Productions. I started this with Jeremy Curlin just over 3 years ago. Actually, he kind of started it, kind of crazy how that all happened. But and then just over a year ago, we were offered a haunted location. And, of course, we bought it, and we took on our third partner, which is Brian Polson. So, basically, our show it's on Amazon Prime right now. It's on VidiSpace. But we bring a featured guest with us every time, like somebody who doesn't do this normally, or sometimes they just don't even believe in it, so that they can see, basically, what we're doing is for real. And it's not fake, and the evidence we capture is real, and what we put out there is real. So, it's kind of a unique twist to things, and it's awesome to always see those people who don't believe in it, and then they they walk out of the filming and they're like, okay, it's for real. So that's the best part. That's my favorite part. So
yeah, that is a good thing. When you finally get it, like, oh yeah, so now, yeah, what do you think? Huh? Yeah, that actually happened.
Yeah. So
we like taking people like that don't believe, because they'll say, I said, come on, let's go.
Yeah. I do a lot of tours. I do a lot of, we were just recently picked up by a company out of the UK called Haunted Rooms, and so they pay us to travel around the country and give haunted tours, and so we're always taking groups of people out, and the amount of times that someone's like, okay, something's going on here. It's we've had people who just get up and walk out because they're freaked out by whatever. Mm-hmm. That's always fun. They're like, where did they go? And the wife's like, I don't know, I got scared.
When do you find time for yourself? All these things you're in.
This is what I enjoy doing so much that it is time for myself. Every second of it is, this has been a dream, and it's been, I can't believe how far it's come in just a short amount of time. But I feel like I'm selfish because it is all about what I'm doing. So it's awesome.
I think it's great. We have our first question in chat here. It's from Darren. What do you fear the most of the paranormal?
This might sound weird, but my biggest fear, honestly, is that it's all in my imagination and that it's not real. It's probably a very odd thing to say, but every time something happens, I question, okay, is that for real? Did that really happen? But every time I catch it on video or on soundtrack or whatever, I have to admit that it's real. And so then I'll feel a little better. But then something else will happen and I go through the same process. So that is probably my biggest fear, which sounds crazy, but it really is.
Let's see. He has another question here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to see more of in the paranormal field?
I want to see people who, anybody who's in this field know that there's so much drama, which is silly. I stay out of it as much as possible. And, what I'd really like to see is for once, people using their thoughts and their ideas and their intelligence to come together and progress forward. I've been saying for a while now that I think, we do the things we do on an investigation because that's what television tells us to do, and people come up with new equipment every day, but it's just a better, more glorified version of the thing they came out with yesterday. I'd really like to see people take a very scientific approach and say, okay, well, this isn't working so well. How do we make it better? How do we make something new? How do we, there's something we're missing because I just don't think it should be this difficult to see each other and communicate back and forth and things like that. So I really, really want to see people starting to work together and push forward and find the proof that we're all looking for.
Yeah, I agree. Christopher has a question here. Have you ever got an unruly customer?
No, I mean, I don't know what he means by customer, whether he's talking about like a spirit or if he's talking about an actual person. I've never encountered anything, I guess, negative or evil, as far as the spiritual realm goes. I think they're just like, people. If you treat them with respect, they treat you with respect as well. As far as unruly living people, that happens every day. So there's always somebody not happy with everything you do. I just tend to not care if people aren't happy with what I do. I'm not trying to impress anybody, I suppose.
Yeah. Let's see here. Darren has another question here. How do you feel about a pregnant woman going on an investigation and the chance of the woman or the child getting possessed?
Well, I don't know about, I question a lot about possession. I do believe in it. I'll just say that for starters, but I don't think it's as common as we seem to think it is. I also, as far as a pregnant woman going on investigation, my number one concern would be her walking around in the dark and her safety, but she's the mother of the baby and, that's really her choice and her decision. And I don't think it's abusive, I guess, in any way. But as far as possession goes, I don't, unless she's really trying, I don't know how to really answer that one because I just don't. I do investigations completely alone, and I've never been possessed. And I think people have this common misconception that every time you go into a haunted building, something evil is going to attack you and attach yourself, and that's just not the case. If something wants to possess you, whether you're on an investigation or sitting at your desk at work, it's going to possess you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make a difference what it is you're doing. Can you egg it on? I'm sure you can, but if it wants to do it, it's going to do it regardless. So,
yeah, we don't allow pregnant women. We had one that got pregnant, and we wouldn't let her go, not because of the possession or nothing. We just didn't want her to get hurt in some of these places, because were walking around in the dark and she could have fallen or something. And
yeah, and that would be my biggest concern is like, you know, because some of these places, they're not exactly safe as far as structure and things like that go. And so that really would be, you know, I mean, my partners worry about me all the time going by myself. When I do the solo investigations, though, I've made it mandatory that I have somebody standing guard outside, you know, just on the, not only to watch the perimeter and make sure nobody breaks in, but if something were to happen to me, I have somebody there to make sure, you know, and I'm not pregnant. So, and I'm still taking those precautions. But yeah, as far as pregnant women go, like that would be my number one concern is them falling and getting hurt and hurting the baby, you know, things like that. So.
Yeah. You got a question?
No, they're in chat. I might have to go. I got a little bit of a cold.
What are your views on shadow people?
I have actually only seen 2 ever shadow people that I would claim. I do think that they're there, obviously, because I've seen them. I think it's kind of a strange phenomena because when we're investigating, we are, you know, we're using equipment that creates shadows. So we need to be very careful. And the 2 that I saw, one, well, they both had actual lights on. So it's not like we were creating the shadows with flashlight and things. The first one was actually at the Squirrel Cage Jail. And I've worked there and I know that place so well. And I had a tour group in there. And I saw this, and it was just very, you couldn't see through it at all. And so the shadow, it was like a man who just walked like down one of the like around the cells. And I didn't say anything because I was waiting for people to come down the stairs and they never came. And one of the girls that was in the group was like, did you just see that person? And she's like, I don't think that was a person, because she was kind of doing the same thing I was. So her and I went and walked down over and there was nobody there and no one ever came. So I'm convinced that it was a shadow person. And the other one that I saw was actually in the basement of the building I own, the Stevenson building. I was down there by myself and I was just standing there and I went down. I'm just kind of looking down towards the other end of the basement. And I just saw like this shadow figure just walk from one side to the other. And I was standing still and there was no one else down there. So, you know, but I don't know why. I question, you know, why does something appear just as a shadow instead of as, you know, but it seems like spirits come in all different forms and different kinds. And the question is, do they form that way because of the different kinds of energy around them? Is that how, you know, who knows? I have no idea. Those are the questions that we are always trying to answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back to the Ruly people, Christopher put in here on your ghost tours.
On the tours, yes. They usually aren't so much like, and it's not, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I would say, most of the people who are on the tours and things, they're a lot of fun. They're there to have fun. Last weekend, or the weekend before last, we actually did Beatty Mansion. They had no heat and no running water. So anytime someone had to go to the bathroom, they had to go to the gas station down the street. But not one person complained. They all had the time of their life. I mean, it was just a great group of people. And they're like, well, you know, when you're going to places, that's what you can expect. But normally the people who have an issue, they don't really say anything until later. And then they write to the company owner and they're like, well, I didn't like we've had complaints like the snacks were generic.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's like, gosh. You know, and it's stuff like that. Or we had one say, oh, well, they just stopped at 11 o'clock. And I'm like, well, none of us left till 2 or 3 in the morning. So I don't know where they were. You know, just sometimes I think people they pay the money to go on the tour, and they come in expecting books to fly off the shelves and, people to be possessed and to get scratched and whatever. And then when it doesn't happen, they complain about the dumbest things, and it is what it is. That's people everywhere you go. You're always going to have those few who hate everything you do. So,
Yeah. Or they watch too much TV.
Too many TV shows. Yeah. So.
Okay. Darren had a question here. Do you think an exorcism helps, or does it hurt the situation?
Well, I was actually a worship leader for 10 years, and I worked in the church for a long time. I studied not only Christianity, but many other religions, and I didn't do it for any other reason other than myself. Funny how it is it now relates to what I do now. As far as exorcisms go, I'm not Catholic. I'm just going to put that out there. So this is just my opinion. It's not meant to offend anybody or whatever. But I believe that the Catholic religion has taken it to a level they shouldn't have. If you study the Bible and read the Bible, basically what Jesus says is he says, in the name of God, demons be gone, and then they're gone. So why they have this long, drawn-out thing for the exorcisms, I don't know. But I think ultimately, in the end, that's just like you're taunting whatever is possessing the person. And so I do think that exorcisms, for the most part, make it worse. But again, that's just my opinion. So
I kind of agree with you. Before I get to any more questions, I know you go to these places by yourself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How? I go with the group, but they'd send me off by myself. But I can't stay very long in one spot by myself.
It's funny because we all talk about New Year's resolutions and things like that. And one of the things that my New Year's resolution, not last year, but the year before, was I don't want to be afraid of anything anymore. I used to have a lot of phobias and a lot of anxiety problems and things like that. And my way of fixing it was to just face everything head on. So, I kind of been doing that for a while, but this last New Year's resolution that I made, it was to really just do it and to get over it. And so there were a lot of things, I guess, that I was afraid of that I'm just not anymore. And I found that doing these investigations alone, I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about the paranormal. And, one of the most amazing things is people watching me live and knowing that I am the only person in that building. And so when something happens and they're watching it happen live and nobody else is there, to me, that is such definitive proof that it exists. How can you refute that? It's not like it's not like I'm editing it and faking it. I can't. It's you're watching it right then and there, and you're seeing my every move and everywhere I go. And so, one of my sisters, my younger sisters, she was never into this at all until I started doing the live things, and now she's hooked. Yeah. So it's cool to see that kind of a change in people.
I know I've watched several of your lives, and it's like, how does she do that? But yeah, I agree, because you're in there by yourself, and stuff's going off, and there's nobody else in there with you, so it's...
Yeah, I'm ready to do Beatty. And I'm going to tell you, I've only been to Beatty once, and when I was there, Beatty, there's something about it that just, it's eerie to me. And I had a hard time. I had a hard time going in the basement by myself there, but I made myself go down there. And because that place is such a, it's such a struggle for me mentally, that's why I was like, this is the place I need to do. So I'm ready. I'm nervous, but I'm ready. I won't lie. There's a lot of times you'll be watching me and, I may seem like I'm just fine, but I'm freaking out on the inside a little bit. So
That's kind of like Edinburgh. When we first went to Edinburgh, I could walk around that place no problem, no scares or nothing. But the last time we were there, I didn't want to walk down the hall by myself. I don't know what it was. I just had this feeling I should not be by myself. And I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, it was different.
yeah, I don't know if you watched our episode of Edinburgh, but I'm going to be doing Edinburgh solo as well. I just haven't planned it quite yet. But that's going to be a very tough one for me. When we were there, when we were filming the episode, I just got really anxious. And to this day, I can't, and I watch this footage to this day and it spooks me because I don't know what's happening, but I just all of a sudden just start yelling at Jeremy and just not, and he's like, okay, let's go upstairs. I'm like, you're not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, just like that, it was over. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm done now. So there's something in Edinburgh that affects, I think, primarily women. And I don't know what it is. So.
The basement's what really gets me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if I can go to the top floor, I have no problem. It's the next floor and the basement that bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the basement. There's just something about it. But I do know. I mean, they had the padded rooms down there, and for me, it's that one room. It's like there's a room that you go through to get to another room.
Yeah.
That little bit. There's something about that particular room that just. Yeah, and I don't know. We actually did a reenactment. I don't think I ever put it up, but Brian Colson, one of our team guys, he's a big guy, and so we actually had him like grab me by the arm, like yelling at me and throwing me into this room, and I'm like, no, like stop, So we acted out this whole thing just to see what would happen, and we basically got an EVP of a very scary, maniacal laugh, and we're like, oh, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Well, Al, you had a situation there, too. You guys were going to go down to the basement, and you were told not to.
Oh, well, that started off with our walkthrough. Like, I was getting this guy, and he was, like, playing with us, basically, and he told us to go down to that boiler room. Well, one of the gals and I went there, and finally, after being coaxed down there, and he was just like, I could keep hearing him, he's just like laughing, and he's like, ha ha ha, you bitches, ha ha ha, I got you. But like all night long, like no matter where I went, he kept saying to go down there. Well then, one of the other team members and I were going to go down there, and she was listening to the spirit box on her headphones, and as we're walking down, this lady says, no, don't go back, do not go down there. So we didn't.
That's kind of crazy because that room that I was talking about, after that whole incident had happened with me and I calmed down, I mean, like, I'm like, obviously we have to go back down there. There's no other option. But we were all sitting, there was 6 of us that night. We were all sitting in that room, and we're sitting there. And as I'm sitting there in my head, I could just hear, get out, get out. And it kept getting louder and louder and louder. And finally I was like, I got to get out of here right now. And they were just like, and you can even hear the other people there later on the film, they're talking about what is with her, because that's not normal for me at all. And so they were pretty concerned about me and why that was happening, because it never happened. It has never happened since.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm nervous to do that one alone, but it's going to happen. So
jump in with both feet. That's
what I do best. That's all I know how to do.
I'll be watching if you go live, so.
Yeah, it'll be live. So
'cause I always try to catch yours. Another question in chat real quick. Darren says, who is one of the person or group you would like to work with that you haven't yet?
Well, that's actually about to happen, so I'm pretty excited. You two probably have seen it if you've been watching my Facebook page, but Ghost Hunters is coming. So they are coming to the Stevenson building on March 21st, and they're going to do a little investigation with us and things like that. So we're super excited for that. And that's been, obviously that's on the top of our list for a while. So we're really excited to have them come out. I didn't really investigate with Ghost Adventures, but I was on set with them for a little while, so that was enough for me. I'm good on that one. I got my crackers, and I'm good on that one. So.
We got an investigation that night, so we can't go.
Oh. Yeah, well, I've been trying. It took them a while. We've had this plan for months, but it took them a while to release ticket sales and let us release the event. So
yeah,
I think we harassed them enough, and they were finally like, "Okay, just do it already." So, I actually think Daryl. I think Daryl is probably more excited than anybody. So he's so excited. He's just, I don't know.
I would be excited.
Yeah, it'll be a good time for sure.
I think I kind of know the answer to this one, but I'll ask it anyway. Darren wants to know, what's your views on the flashlight game?
Well, I think that it works in a lot of cases. I think you need to be careful with what you're using, because we use I know you've seen me use the candles, but I've tested those over and over and over and over and over again, and for whatever reason I still find myself doubting it. But when it's directly answering, and when you're saying, can you turn it off, and it does, can you turn it on, and it does, and it repeatedly works, and I feel like that with anything. Like, you can't just, it's like, oh, can you turn the REM pod, red? And then it does, but then you ask it again and it doesn't. Can you really count that? I think with everything, you have to have it be consistent. So if something is working consistently and you're getting consistent answers, then I say, yes, it's working. But then, of course, you always have to make sure your stuff is working properly. The candles, I typically stand them upright. And I do that on purpose because I feel like if they're standing upright, it's not like the batteries and things can settle. When we do the tours and things like that, I always pass them around and I'm like, just see how hard this is to turn on. And they're always kind of in shock. I think we have a couple of clips somewhere where you can actually see the top of the candle twisting. So that's kind of irrefutable, It's pretty crazy. And they don't work everywhere either, which also proves that they're working correctly.
Yeah, we use them a lot. We don't use the flashlights. We use those candles. That's what we've always used. At one time,
yeah,
we were getting the yes and no's all the time with them at Farrar. Then all of a sudden, it would just stay on. And so I went to go turn it off. I couldn't get it off. It was tightened so tight.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, and that's what I think happens is sometimes they're too tight for them to shut off because they'll work and then they'll get really, really bright or whatever. And then at some point, I think they twist them so much that they can't shut them. So I'll reset them and say, okay, well, but don't turn it so tight or whatever, It's like that. We actually I have one up in I should go check it tomorrow, but I have one upstairs in the Stevenson. We have like a kid's room up there. And so I left one up there, and that would have been, we're going on 5 months now, I think. And every time I go up there, after not being up there for a while, it's on. And so, yeah, my partner Jeremy was like, he went up there one day, and he was like, he took a picture of it, and he's like, do you just leave this on? I'm like, Jeremy, it's been up there for 3 weeks. If I left that on, those batteries would be dead. He's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it would not still be on. So eventually we're going to put a camera on it just to see how often it goes on and off and things like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, we used it at Velisca when we were there the last time, and we set them around, and I said, well, we're going for supper, and it's going to be dark when we come back. You want to turn them on for us when we come back? And we came back in, and they were on.
Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome. I love those things.
And they're not expensive.
No, you can get them on Amazon you get like a dozen of them for like not even $12.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I get mine at Dollar Tree, so.
$2 for the buck. Yeah, so, yeah. Not too shabby.
Darren wants to know, what do you think about the Estes method?
Oh, that's basically, it's the Gansfield, which is, we did it. We have a Gansfield booth set up down at the Stevenson. I'll tell you what, I just thought it was a stupid idea. And then we did it, and I couldn't believe it. It's Rick and Gina Gray. If any of you have ever seen our doll Waverly, they're the ones who invented her for us, our Paradoll. And so they've been married for a long time. So in a way, they're kind of a perfect subject because they know each other quite well. Mm-hmm. But we had Rick in the isolation booth, and Gina was out by us. And so Gina is standing there, and she's telling her, she's like, Rick, open your mind. And she's doing like this little, the jazz hands, and she's open your mind. And not even, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds later, Rick just goes, all I'm getting is open your mind. And then he did the same jazz hands and the same voice and the same everything. And we were just like, what in the hell? And that was our first real attempt at it. And so we were just kind of floored. We were just like, this is crazy. We have had other results since then too, because everybody who comes in there has to do the Gansfield. But we also realized that you have to be able to control a lot of things mentally. Polson, who has been EMS, and he's seen a lot of things and whatever. He went into the booth and he just had a panic attack. He started hearing and seeing a lot of memories and a lot of things coming up. And so we warn people, if you're going to do it, you really need to be careful because it can cause a lot of emotional distress if you don't have good control over that kind of thing for yourself. So
we tried the method at the squirrel cage in the.
Oh yeah, in the little self-confinement
self-confinement little area. We did that there.
Like solitary.
Yeah, solitary. That's it. And we had some of the questions answered that we were asking, and then some of it was totally off the wall. And
yeah, so it makes you wonder, because I think what happens is, like, it works, but at the same time we're also letting in, our own thoughts. Mm-hmm. And so that can really confuse. It's hard to, and that's what, we see people who go in there and they're supposed to, they're supposed to be talking about or acting out whatever it is they think they're being told to say or do, mm-hmm. but they get so self-conscious that they don't do it. So it's got to be, we have to learn, I think, how to let go of our own everything so that we can take on what we're supposed to be hearing. Because at this point, I think we're doing it, it's just everything's kind of mushing together. So that's why you get some things that are correct and some things that are not.
Let's see. Trying to find more questions here. Oh, Keith said he needs to do that sometime.
He can do it anytime he wants.
Yeah, we've been meaning to get over to your way, but we just haven't got it scheduled in yet with you.
Well, whenever you guys are ready, we'll take you. That's all I know.
I've watched a lot of your live feeds from there, and I said, we gotta go there.
That place, sometimes it is just ridiculous. Like, when we first got the building, so, Jeremy has, family, and he lives in Omaha, and I was living in Omaha. I just recently moved out here. But a lot of it, fell on me because Brian had knee surgery and, things like that. And so when we were first cleaning out the building, a lot of it, I spent a lot of time in there. I mean, don't get me wrong. Brian has done, he's spent hours and thousands, and, he's put into so much into that place. But I would come out here Saturday nights after work and get there, midnight, 1:00 in the morning. And then I'd stay Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday and just be cleaning. And so I would go to sleep at night, and then, the building, just whenever it decided it was time for me to get up, that's just the way it was. You need to be 4:00, 5:00 in the morning. It didn't care. And it sounds like people upstairs moving furniture and walking around and just like constant, to the point where I would finally get up and go look upstairs. There's nobody up there, come back down. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just done sleeping. There was one morning that we have, the storefront, and we have our, our crazy little mannequin up there. He's got a hazmat suit on, a bright yellow hazmat suit. Somebody did a YouTube video on our crazy little storefront, and it's on YouTube. It's kind of funny. Somebody else, they're like, look at this. But I had set that all up, and the mannequins, I put bricks on the base of the mannequin. And I remember when I was doing it, I was like, he doesn't need it, but just in case, Mm-hmm. And so, like 2 days later, it's like 9:00 in the morning, 8:00 in the morning. I don't even know what time it was. But I am just sleeping, and I hear this loud bang, and I'm kind of open my eyes, and here's the mannequin face down on the floor.
Oh, jeez.
It looked like somebody had grabbed it by the ankles and like flipped it up. And I was like, what? And it took me a minute because I was so out of it. It took me a minute, and I get up there, and and the bricks were like way on the other side of the room. I'm pretty sure that something threw it off of there. I really, just the way it fell. I mean, you'd have to see it. I took video of it. Like, as I'm getting up out of bed, I just grab my phone and I'm recording because I'm like, y'all have got to see this. Like, what is this? It's never done it since, and it's been up there, forever. So I have no explanation for it.
That's crazy.
So
Allison would love that one.
Oh, yeah. Sure I would.
She don't like the mannequins at Granger House.
No, I don't.
Well, we have a couple. We have we have two in the window because one's on an embalming table, of course. And then I was able to get a hold of like a full ceremonial Odd Fellows uniform, so we needed a mannequin for that one, of course. Mm-hmm. And then I made a clown. I wanted a big clown, and I found these like posable dummies at Halloween. Mm-hmm. And so I made this life-size clown. So he's upstairs. He always scares people, but I'm like, he's just minding his own business, watching TV, not harming anybody.
Okay. I love clowns.
I actually, because I made him when I was living in Omaha, and I had to drive him. It's 2 hours from Omaha. And so I had to drive him here, and I was like, how funny would it be to just put him in the front seat, like a person?
Yeah.
And I got pulled over. And the cop is like, really? And I was like, how are you not laughing? And he's like, I've seen everything. That was hilarious. Anyway.
Yeah.
That would have been cool if she had a string on its arm and it was waving at people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he is coming to HauntACon, so maybe I'll have to. We'll have to rig him up for that ride.
There you go. Darren wants to know if you had a chance to build a device for an investigation, what would it be and why?
Well, I'm currently working on something, but what I want to do is I want to make a different spirit box. I have my degree in sound design and film production. And so knowing what I know about sound, I have a lot of doubts about the spirit box and how they work and why they work or if they work. Mm-hmm. I can't say that I've never heard anything come through a spirit box that I don't believe. I do think that I've heard some things come through. But there's a lot of holes in how they actually work. And so I'm working on something that hopefully will change all that. And if I can do what it is I want to do, EVPs will basically be a thing of the past. You'll be able to just have a conversation with a spirit like we're talking right now. So that's the hope. But whether it will work or not, I have no idea. But I'm going to find out.
I hope you come up with it. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I know he had some more here. If you come across a full body apparition, who would you want it to be and what would you say?
Well, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I can think of a million people I'd want it to be. I think I would just be happy to be able to speak to like, I mean, imagine if somebody came through that clear that they were just standing right there in front of you and you could ask them any question. The problem is I would probably be in such shock I wouldn't be able to talk. But, I mean, I would just want to say, you know, what is your name and what's your story? Like, why are you still here? You know, there's so many questions. I think maybe the top question is like, how can we make this happen on a regular basis? How do we summon you whenever we choose? I don't...
Excuse me.
Darren says, if you had a chance to make the ultimate Ouija board, what would you want it to do and do that the others can't?
The ultimate Ouija board. You know what? I think it would be awesome if a Ouija board could just move the planchette without anyone touching it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Then how could you say that, oh, well, you were moving it? Because like now there's, oh, you shouldn't do it yourself, or you have to do it with another person, whatever. You know what? If they can move a ball across the room, they can move a planchette on their own.
Yeah.
that would be the ultimate. You know, you have to make it more like a, what is that game? You know, like a hockey table. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I bet if we made them out of that, it would make them easier. Well, that's a good idea.
There you go.
Definitely. Matt in chat says he wants it to do housework.
No, I would put out on there, I was just kidding, like just joking. I put on Facebook one day, I was like, yeah, so I'm considering buying this haunted doll off of eBay. What do y'all think? And it was just a joke. And people took it so seriously. Oh my God, it's fake, or don't do that, it's possessed, whatever. And why do you want your house haunted? And I was like, why do you assume that I want some ghost in my house, like throwing stuff? No, like I want an old lady ghost who bakes cookies. Okay. People take me too seriously.
Darren wants to know, is there a location you will never go back to?
No, I'd go back to every single one. I can't even imagine. Like, that's the thing about me is the worse the location is, the more freaked out I am by a location, the more I want to go back to it.
Mhm.
So I get bored of the ones that I like, okay, I'm so comfortable here now, and then I just get bored.
Right.
About like us and Farrar.
Yeah.
We've gotten so comfortable with it that it was, so we've changed up a little bit. I
Yeah.
still love Farrar, but
Yeah.
let's see. Okay. Matt says, I got distracted by House of Pain and had to jump around. Where is this place located?
It's already been answered in chat.
Oh, okay. I'm just following chat down here.
It's been answered.
Okay. What device you hate the most?
Device that I hate the most?
Uh-huh.
I'm not really a big fan of like the Cambridge Labs EMF meters. I don't think they're very accurate. Those are the ones I probably don't like. They're probably going to sue me now. No, I don't know. I just don't think they're very accurate. I also don't really like we have one of the spirit boxes with the diffusing pedals and stuff on it, which those are fun, but I don't like the little handheld ones, the older versions that all you hear is the static. Those drive me crazy. Yeah. I feel like they just destroy your senses in every way, shape, and possible, and I don't really think they work very well. So,
Okay. Darren's coming up with quite a bit here. What's the weirdest thing that has happened to you on an investigation?
Okay, so I'll tell this story because it happened. But I didn't put it out anywhere. I have my reasons for not really putting it out anywhere, and I don't mind telling the story. But we went to Waverly Hills, and there was a couple. It's a brother and sister team, Cispro Paranormal, and they're from Vegas. And they came with us, and there's one room in Waverly where they will tell you, well, we're not going to tell you what happened there. You need to figure it out yourself. So I won't tell you the story of what happened. If you ever go there, you figure it out on your own. It's part of the experience. But we did figure it out. And what happened to Brian, Brian Rollins, which is one of the guys from Cispro, was that night after he had been there, because he was acting kind of funny in there for a little bit. And he ended up with bruises on the inner side of his right thigh. And they were pretty bad. But he never felt it happen, and they didn't hurt at all. Well, the next time we went back into that room, because, of course, we're like, well, obviously we have to go back in there. So he started acting strange again, and I said, you know what? I said, we need to get him out of here. So we did. And then after we left Waverly, I slept for about an hour. I drove Jeremy to the airport, and then I drove to South Carolina. I didn't do anything else. I didn't go anywhere. I did nothing. I just went to sleep and slept, for hours. And so then I get up and I go to take a shower, and my friend's bathroom had one of those like big full mirrors. Mm-hmm. And as I'm getting undressed, I noticed that in the same place I had some of the deepest bruises I had ever seen in my life. I thought that I was bleeding at first, and it was so bad it scared me, but I never felt it. And you could touch it and it didn't hurt, but it looked like someone had taken a pole and stuck it through my leg. It looked like a thumbprint and a fingerprint, like something had just grabbed my leg. And to this day, I can't explain it. I have photos of it, but I just never really when I've made the episode for Waverly, I didn't want to take away from what happened to Brian, so I just chose to leave it out.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty weird.
Oh. Makes me hurt.
Well, that's the thing that I tell people, I'm like, I don't think that whatever was doing that was intending on hurting anybody. I think it was just trying to get our attention in some way. Because, when you have the tiniest bruise, you can push on it and it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But these were big bruises and you could, push on it and nothing. You didn't feel a thing. It didn't hurt at all. It was strange.
Yeah, I think we're just not in tune with them, and they're just trying to get our attention as much as they can, and they're not realizing they're hurting us. It's just like somebody getting scratched. The first thing they say, demon, so I got scratched. But I think they're just trying to get your attention, and you're just ignoring them.
Yeah. And, and that's what I think, too. Like, how do we know that there's, they say you got scratched. Like, maybe they just put their hand on your arm and that happened. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they just leaned up against you and now you have these burns on you. Like, it may be just a transfer of energy that they don't have any control over.
Right.
Let's see, there is a question. Rebecca. She wants to know, what has been your favorite investigation?
Gosh, there's been so many. I enjoy them all, really. My favorite one, I don't know. I don't really know that I have a favorite. I think I enjoy the experiences of each one of them differently, and I get excited to go to each one, and each one brings something, else to the table and something new. And, especially when I'm with Brian and Jeremy, and the three of us are like the Three Stooges all the time, Yeah, that's why I put bloopers at the end of every single one of our episodes, because, people see all this seriousness, but the truth behind it is a lot of times we're laughing and goofing around and, and just messing with each other. And that's so much fun. I wouldn't trade that in for anything. But as far as the favorite goes, I couldn't, there's no way I could ever pick one.
Shay wants to know, what's your favorite device or technique?
Well, I really like the Melmeter. And I like the Melmeter because you can put the Melmeter anywhere, and you can put a camera on it, and it will pick up audio, and it will pick up lights. And so, in the Stevenson, I put the Melmeter up there, and an hour later, after nobody was in there, it was going off, and we caught an EVP, saying, I can't control it, and then it went off again, and then it just died. So I like anything that has sound that you can put in another room and be completely away from it, have nobody near it, and can make a noise when you're not in there, is probably my favorite one.
I like my Maverick. It's a dog. It's like a K-tube. His collar will go off, his nose will go off, and we've had that in Inez's room at the manor, and we were all downstairs when it was going off upstairs. And
yeah, we have Waverly, who's kind of like would be kind of the same concept as Maverick, but she's broken right now, so.
Oh no.
I know.
Yeah, we use him a lot for a lot of things. We put the candles by him too, and either he's going off or the candle's going off. So we've caught them on camera. So
I want to see it.
I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I definitely want to see. I want to see the puppy in action.
Okay, we got this running question Darren's got going. He asked everybody in chat, What's the one object in the world that you would never want haunted?
The one object, my cat.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say their cat yet.
He's sitting right here, and then the thought of him being wanted and not snuggling and cuddling and sitting on my lap while I'm on the toilet would just be horrible. My kids all grew up and moved out. All I have now is my cat. So.
I think my dog's haunted. I'll give him to you.
Yeah, I don't know if Sapphire would go with a haunted dog too.
It's not really haunted. He's just a pain in the butt. He won't let you sleep at night, like the ghost.
Oh. He just needs a little love. That's all. In the middle of the night when you're trying to sleep.
Darren wants to know if have you ever had a UFO encounter?
I haven't. My dad says that he has, and like I've talked to my dad a lot about that kind of thing, but I never have. But I also don't really go looking for it. I've been to Area 51 quite a few times and still never see anything. But I don't really look for it either. But I believe they're there. Like, I believe in aliens. I just think I actually find it very arrogant to think that in this massive universe of space and time that we would really be the only intelligent life form existing. That seems kind of ridiculous to me. So,
yeah.
I've never. You found any more questions?
Excuse me. Let's see.
Well, while she's looking up your Stevenson house, if anybody wanted to rent it, why don't you tell them how to get a hold of you on that one and how much and stuff, so if they ever want to come investigate.
Sure. So we do, it's $300 for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and then it is $250 the other days of the week, and that's for up to 6 people, because ideally that's like the best number to have in there, really. And if you have more than 6 people, it's like $40 more a person. And if you want to book it, all you have to do is message Stevenson Building, and we'll let you know if we have dates available. We still have someone working on getting a calendar and stuff and a website up and running so that you can book that way. But for right now, people are just kind of calling messaging. My phone number is up there on the page, so you can always call me too and leave me a message or send me a text message. That's fine. We also, we do a lot of like flashlight tours and things like that too. So if you're wanting to just come check it out or whatever, you can always look for those events. And usually those run anywhere between $15 to $35, just depending on what we're doing. Jamie with HaunaCon, she does paranormal history tours. She's going to be booking another event there coming up. I think Riverside Paranormal is going to be doing one there too coming up. So people will be putting out events. People are starting to get their date set and whatever. So there'll be a lot of events if you don't want to do like a full overnight.
Cool. That ain't really a bad price either.
No. Well, and now we have, because we're just such weirdos, me and Brian, and we're just so weird. It's no longer just a haunted building. It is now an oddities museum, and the collection is growing every day. I posted a picture today of me wearing, we got some African death masks that they use in ceremonials, and of course you're like, oh, this has been on hundreds of dead bodies, and I put it on my face right away.
Yeah, I saw that you were a picture of it.
Yeah. So, but it's definitely, it's growing every day. We have a lot of really strange things. We have a lot of weird things. We have more coming. One of the things we wanted to do was put as many other haunted locations into our building. So we've collected things from like Waverly Hills and Goldfield Hotel. We have a Life Fest now from the Queen Mary. There's so many different locations. We have like a piece of something from almost every location we've been to at this point. And it just keeps coming in. We now have a medicine cabinet from Danvers Asylum, which that no longer exists. But Jeremy is obsessed with Danvers. So I'm pretty sure like every day is like, guess what I'm trying to get from Danvers? The poor guy, this guy has this huge collection, and I think Jeremy bothers him every day. What are you selling me today? But it's kind of cool. I think a lot of people enjoy the history, and they enjoy the things that we have in there. And it's getting weirder. It's all I can say.
We're both fighting colds. I'm not seeing any more questions in chat.
I don't think so either. So, real quick here, I'm just going to give shout-outs here to everybody who was in chat tonight. We had Darren, we had myself, we had Shay, we had Rick, we had Matt, we had Keith, we had Rebecca, we had Christopher, we had Darren, Shay. Just scroll through here, make sure I didn't forget anybody. I don't think I did.
Did you get these people up here?
Yep, I did.
Okay.
I got her. Excuse me.
Yeah, Keith put your website on the chat page for you.
Yeah, I think he's downstairs watching. So. I was like, I have to do that sometime. I'm like, you live right down the street. I know. He's actually, it's been a year coming that I put my house, I kicked all my children out. Yay. And then I put my house for sale, and so that I could move out here to Wymore to, do everything that we do. And so Keith has been very generous and has offered me a room. So I have somewhere to stay until my house sells and I get a place out here officially. So cool. He's been quite awesome.
Cool.
All right. And then one other thing here. I want to thank everybody who was in chat tonight. Thank you for everybody who was listening but was not in chat. We appreciate you all. And then also tune in tomorrow night to Shay's Paranormal Chat so you can listen to Kim and I on hers and see
pre-recorded, but
pre-recorded,
we'll be on it.
But we'll be on it. So see what we had up our sleeves for that one. So thank you again, everybody, tonight for joining us, and thank you, Christy, for being on the show. We appreciate it, and everyone have a great night.
Yep, and thank you guys too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on here a second. We'll close her out.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to REP Paranormal and Friends. Be sure to check out Kim and Allison on Facebook at REP Paranormal Busters.